Yeah. I hope it hasn't. Oh, yeah. 3 o'clock, so 5 minutes.
A bit of water, maybe.
There's no one on it.
I know, but you got to put it up on the thing, don't you?
No.
Yeah.
Shh. Yeah.
In 2 minutes' time, you will discover some wonderfully unique, free-flying Australian birds. As they fly in and around the flight arena,
You haven't got the
you may
YouTube app on there,
experience
so it
close
won't work.
encounters with these
I just
beautiful
switched it
birds.
aside.
Please
I
remain
don't know how to
seated
get it
during
back.
the show. For your own
have
safety,
to go on
do not
YouTube.
reach out and try and touch the birds or stand up while the birds are flying. Thank you. Now, enjoy a dreaming story from Murrindindi of the Wurundjeri people. The story of Bunjil, the creator spirit of this land.
Uncle, who is Bunjil?
Let me tell you a story, little one. Long, long ago in the dreaming, there came a falling star of great force named Bira. Bira fell from the sky and created the body of an eagle. The eagle was Bunjil. Bunjil was the creator spirit of all. As Bunjil soared, he created Gunagili, the sky. And as he circled and circled, he looked down and saw there was nothing, nothing at all. Swooping down from the sky, Bunjil blew air from his beak and created Mother Earth. He then created all living things, trees, mountains and animals, including Mindy the snake, Ingalinga the echidna, and Wang the crow.
Did Bunjil make any other birds?
Made a dazzling rainbow appear. From the rainbow had its own colours and turned into a beautiful bird. As they were created, the birds, each with their own spirit, sang with joy as they flew down to the earth.
From the Dreamtime until today, people have watched birds fly and marvelled at their beauty, their grace and their power. Australia is fortunate to be the home of over 750 bird species, many of them unique to our land. From large predatory birds to rapid flashes of colour, birds fly around our
Should be
share our
starting
suburbs,
now. Oh, here it
watch
comes.
over our cities, visit our gardens,
Here it
and
comes.
enrich our lives. From ancient times
Ah,
until
here she
today,
comes.
these spirits of the sky have inspired our imagination and wonder.
Well, Manjika, and welcome to Spirits of the Sky here at Hillsville Sanctuary.
The birds that we'll be meeting today are flying on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people, and we'd like to acknowledge the connection that our First Nations people
So this
have
is
with
the
land
bird
for
show,
many
the
thousands
Birds of
years.
Prey
Hi,
show.
my name's Jason.
My name's Jessica, and Australia is sometimes known as the land of the parrots. It's pretty easy to see how we get that title. We've got 56 different species of parrot here in Australia. That includes lorikeets, rosellas, cockatoos, cockatiels, budgerigars, galahs. They're all part of the parrot family.
I
And
didn't
some
know
of the
that.
birds you're going to meet today are rare and endangered in the wild. This one here is a real success story in the wild. Underneath their wings, you might be able to spot some yellow feathers in there. It's their beautiful crest that gives this species its name. This is a sulphur-crested cockatoo. and this one is called Quasi. And these are a really long-lived bird. They can live up to 100 years. They also are the loudest.
This is a sanctuary in native bushland, so it's not a traditional
Just to put into perspective,
zoo.
they can reach about 130 decibels, and a chainsaw is
So
about
it's definitely not a
115
prison for
decibels.
them.
A
They've
jet
got
engine can reach about
free
140
space to
decibels,
fly.
so they are definitely up there with loud noises. Wild birds need wild places to live, and some birds need really big territories with massive old growth trees for their nesting hollows. It can take about 150 or 200 years for trees to get big enough that they start to naturally form hollows. For this species here, these are red-tailed black cockatoos. And we've been joined by a male behind me over there. This is a female here with me and another female from the flock here. Welcome to the show. Now you can tell the difference between the boys and the girls in this species. The male over there, he's black on his whole body and his tail has got a band of red feathers in the middle of it. The females have these beautiful little speckles across their head and their body, and their tail feathers are quite different as well. So if you have a look at the tail feathers of the female, and we might get a look at Karak's tail here, the colour blends down from yellow into orange. There are beautiful stripes across them as well, and they're an absolutely stunning bird. And our sulphur-crested cockatoos are just demonstrating that loud noise as well. There's 5 different species of black cockatoo all around Australia. Around here you might see yellow-tailed black cockatoos. Those red-tailed black cockatoos are an endangered species in Victoria. Parrots occupy a lot of different habitats all around Australia. So you can find parrots in the woodlands, but you can also find them in the deserts and in the rainforests. And sometimes parrots have colours that reflect the habitat that they're in. And cockatoos are a type of parrot that all have a crest. So those mobile feathers on the top of their head that they can raise and lower for communication and expression. And it's especially handy if they're trying to communicate silently.
Now, while you're walking around the sanctuary grounds, keep your eyes open for some of the cockatoo species we have. See if you can check out that crest, see if you can work out what they're actually trying to tell you with their crest. Now, the birds we're meeting today are obviously trained to participate in the presentation. And as a zookeeper here at Zoos Victoria, animal training is actually a really important part of our job. And we train animals for all sorts of reasons. One of those reasons is to allow our animals to participate in their own healthcare. When you have an animal that will voluntarily participate in things like medical treatments and medical procedures, it makes those things much, much easier on the animals themselves, and they tend to recover a lot better and a lot faster if they're involved in their own recovery. And the bird that we're about to meet is actually a bird that was brought into the vet hospital here at Healesville Sanctuary around about 20 years ago. He actually came in with a broken
this is
wing.
Healesville,
The vets
Victoria,
fixed that wing,
the
but he wasn't
Healesville
able to
Sanctuary.
back
This
out
is
into
the
wild.
Birds
So
of
he's been
Prey
with us
show.
here at Spirits of the Sky ever since, and he's been a part of our show for the last 20 years. In fact, if you ask him, he'd probably tell you he's been the star of the show for the last 20 odd years. I'd like to introduce you to Kevin. This is Kev, the long-billed Corella. Now, because Kevin came to us after having a broken wing, we needed to make sure that his wing was working properly and that we could exercise the wing. So one of the very first behaviours we trained Kevin to do so he could exercise his wings was to simply open those wings. So all we need to do is ask Kevin to open his wings. We can check that the left and right are nice and balanced. We can check the feather condition on those wings as well. To check the rest of his feather condition, we can just ask Kevin to turn around, please. We can check his back and his front. And occasionally we need to have a look at his feet. So we ask him for his right foot and his left foot. Nice job, Kevin. Well done. Now the final behaviour we'd like you to have a look at while Kevin's with us today looks like a really simple behaviour, but in fact it's probably the most important behaviour we have with Kevin, and that is to, are you ready? Step up. Now that stepping up is really important to us because it's a behaviour that we consider to be a consent behaviour. Now whenever we're training any of our animals at Zoos Victoria, we actually never force them into coming to work with us. We actually ask them if they want to come to work and if they're prepared to participate. Now the way we do that is by finding a consent behaviour, just like that one. Now it'll be different for all the different animals, but for Kevin it's stepping up. So whenever we're about to start working with Kevin, the first behaviour we ask for is that step up. Now it does a couple of things. First of all, it tells him that it's about to be a working session and that he has a choice. Now if he chooses not to step onto our hands, he's telling us one really, really simple thing. He's basically saying, no, I don't want to come to work. I'm not interested in participating in whatever it is you'd like me to do. Now, we never know the exact reason for him saying no. In fact, the reason doesn't matter. We just know that he doesn't want to come to work. So we acknowledge it and we go away. We come back again a little bit later and we ask him again a little bit later on until he says yes. So it actually becomes his choice when he decides to work with us, not the other way around. And it's a really, really important distinction to make. And it's a really important thing for all of our animals to understand. They can actually say yes or no at any time. It's the first stage of the two-way communication that we have between our trainers and our animals, and it's what builds the trust in the relationship to allow us to be able to work with the animals the way we do, particularly when we're free-flying birds like we are today. Now, Kevin's done a fantastic job. How about a massive round of applause for Kevin?
Long-billed corellas, like Kevin, they're a species that spends a lot of time on the ground. That long part of their beak they can use to dig up roots and tubers, which form a big part of their diet. There are other bird species that hardly ever come down to the ground and spend most of their lives at the very top of the canopy. We're going to have a look that comes from a bird from far north tropical Queensland. This is an Eclectus parrot. As he flies around, check out the red feathers underneath his wings. He does have a little bit of blue on the top of his shoulders, but mostly he's green across his back and his head, and that beautiful orange beak. And these colours fit in with the rainforest environment where there's bright green leaves, brightly coloured fruits and flowers. Beautiful, buddy. And the pattern of coloration means that he can hide from predators, still be visible to his own kind. So a bird of prey that might be looking at him from above would actually find him quite tricky to spot in amongst those bright green leaves, especially if his wings are folded like this, because his really contrasting colours are hidden on the underneath of his wings. And that makes him a little bit more visible to the females. So the female Eclectus are in their nesting hollow for about 8 to 10 months of the year. And when the males fly overhead, it makes that bird a little bit easier for them to pick out. Now, the reason why the boys are at the top of the canopy, great job, mate, is because that's where most of the food is. It's the job of the male to collect the food and deliver that to his girlfriend in her nesting hollow, and his second girlfriend in her nesting hollow, and his third girlfriend, and his fourth girlfriend. The girls are receiving takeaway from 4 or 5 different boys, and then they usually choose the one that brings the best takeaways, usually the father of the chicks. So it's not a bad system. Now, some birds use colour to camouflage from predators. The one we're going to have a look at next uses their colour to camouflage from their prey. And we're going to have a look at a nocturnal or nighttime bird of prey. Have a listen when he lands, because he might make a sound that will tell you the name of this species. So you've probably guessed that a nocturnal bird of prey is a type of owl. And this bird doesn't have any bright colours at all. Here he comes now. Now let's see. There it was. Did you hear that? This is a barking owl. That call that sounds a little bit like a dog barking. Beautiful, buddy. And these birds have got incredible eyesight. So those massive yellow eyes can see 35 times better than we do. They don't even need to see in colour. They're really good at detail and distance. They're also very perceptive, picking up on the movement of their prey. And prey for barking owls is a lot of mammals. So they eat possums and gliders, rats and mice. Another bark from him there. They will eat other birds too if they get the opportunity. And once they spot their prey, they're really good at weaving through the trees to fly through and grab it. They're quite agile. He's got no problems weaving in amongst everybody here today. Now, as well as the barking call, you might be able to hear him making a little chirpy sound. He makes that sound when he's really excited about the snacks that he's getting out here, so that's a pretty happy noise from him. Barking owls are also known to make another sound if their nest is under threat, and that one sounds like a human scream. It's very convincing too. They've also got really great hearing as well as good eyesight. Like us, they've got an ear on each side of their head, but their ears are asymmetrical, so one is higher up than the other one. And that difference allows them to locate the sound of their prey, even if it's totally dark. They can map exactly in 3D where that sound is coming from. You'll see he's also constantly scanning the environment, turning his head around. They don't move their eyeballs. Their eyes are actually long tubes and they don't have muscles to turn their eyeballs like the way that we do. So instead he turns his whole neck. And he's got twice as many bones in his neck as we do, so he's able to do that a little bit better than us. And that's just another way that he can keep his body quite still while his head pivots around to locate his prey. And there's 8 different species of owl in Australia. 4 of them are from the masked owl family. A good example of those are the barn owls. They have that distinctive heart-shaped face. The other 4 are from the hawk owl family. And he's a part of the hawk owls, which is why he's got a little bit more hawk-like features. Now, he's done a really great job out here. That was our barking owl. Give it up for him. He's done an awesome job today. Well done, mate. That's so cute.
Our barking owls are one of our top nocturnal predators we have here in Australia. We are hoping to move back into the world of our daytime hunters and have a look at a couple more diurnal raptors very shortly. But before we do that, we actually want to take a little bit of extra time out of the presentation to be able to just stop and say thank you. We actually want to thank you all very much for coming along today and visiting us here at Healesville Sanctuary, being part of our Zoos Victoria family, even if it is just for one day. By being here today, you're actually supporting the really important work we do in conservation, helping to save a whole lot of animals out there, things like Tasmanian devils, leadbeater's possums, and 2 of the world's most endangered birds, the orange-bellied parrot and also the helmeted honeyeater. Now, we honestly couldn't do any of this vital work without you, and in particular, we really want to acknowledge our Zoos Victoria members, and I can see a few of you out there today. And on behalf of all of our animals and everyone here at Zoos Victoria, we want to say... Just a massive thank you so much for visiting. We really do appreciate your visit and support. We are working with 27 different species now, trying to prevent them from going extinct out there in the wild, ranging from the Lord Howe Island stick insect, so one of our invertebrates, right up to the large Tasmanian devil and a whole bunch of things in between. Small mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, all sorts of things we're working with to prevent them from going extinct in the wild. Just by being here today, you're now all a part of it. You can now all say that you're helping Zoos Victoria to save 27 different species from going extinct. So, sincerely, on behalf of all of us here at Zoos Victoria, thank you so much for your visit. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. All right, now, thank you. Thank you. You get an extra thank you. Now, as I said, we are going to have a look at a couple of our, or hoping to have a look at a couple of our diurnal raptors. The first one we're going to look at is actually our 3rd largest raptor here in Australia. This is a black-breasted buzzard. Her name is Beatrice, the black-breasted buzzard. And these birds live in our really hot, dry environments of the desert regions of Australia, so through central Australia. And they're adapted to be very energy-efficient flyers. So they have big, broad wings compared to a relatively light body weight. But this is the behaviour that I want to concentrate on. You can see while Beatrice is out here, she's actually very comfortable and very coordinated while she's on the ground. There's a really good reason for it. These black-breasted buzzards are one of the very few raptors here in Australia that do some of their hunting while they're on the ground. They're actually really well known as nest robbers, and they steal the eggs and chicks of other birds. Now that doesn't stop with our small tree nesting birds. They're also very happy hunting the eggs and chicks of our large ground nesting birds, which includes our largest bird of all here in Australia. And hopefully you've all had a chance to see the emus today, because if you have, you've probably worked out that emus are really big birds. Now, because they're really big birds, they lay really big eggs. In fact, the egg of an emu is actually too big for a bird like, oh, you got a free one. That was lucky. Bird like Beatrice here just can't pick those eggs up in their feet or their beak to break them open like they would do. The smaller eggs they feed on. So they've developed this really special behaviour to get into emu eggs. And I'm hoping that Beatrice here is going to show us exactly how to do that today, because I just happen to have an emu egg in my pocket. As you can see, that's a big egg. Now this one's not a real one, but it's the same size as a real emu egg. It is just too big for her to pick up in any way. But if you keep your eyes on Beatrice today, we should get a chance to see exactly how... Concentrate, sweetheart. Thank you. You'll get a chance to see exactly how they break open emu eggs. You know she's picked up that rock. Watch what she does. Oh, great shot. First go today. Well done. Nice work. Now, people often see that behaviour here at Spirits of the Sky, and they think, well, that's obviously a trick they taught that bird. Believe it or not, it is not a trick, and we didn't teach her how to do it. In fact, she didn't learn how to do that from her parents. She didn't learn it from other black-breasted buzzards. She just knew how to do it. All black-breasted buzzards just know how to break open emu eggs. The very first time they ever see one, they know what they have to do. They find a rock, they start throwing it down on top of that egg. It's what we call an instinctive or an innate behaviour. It's not a learnt behaviour in any way whatsoever. So it's quite amazing simply because of that. And we're lucky having them in Australia. They're not found anywhere else in the whole world. So we're really lucky having the black-breasted buzzards living here. Now, the birds of prey we've seen, so the owl and the black-breasted buzzard, are birds which we call generalist hunters. Now, this is what we call a specialist hunter. This one here is an osprey. This is Alvy, our osprey, and they specialise in catching one particular type of food, and that's fish. In catching one particular type of food to survive, you need to be very good at catching that one particular type of food, otherwise you don't survive. So these ospreys are really well adapted for the purpose of catching fish. And I'm hoping Alvy's going to show us how to catch fish today. We'll give him a little bit of a chance to see if he wants to show us exactly how to do that. Now, we do have other raptors in Australia that catch fish. Things like sea eagles and whistling kites are very well known for catching fish. But they just skim the surface. So they wait for the fish to come to the surface and they'll just take them right off the surface. Ospreys like Alvy here will dive completely under the water. In fact, they'll dive as deep as a full metre to get that fish. So really, really different way of catching fish. Now, a lot of you have seen one of the birds that's flying around up above us, just like Alvy has. Alvy's been watching that bird for a little while now. It's actually the pair of wedge-tailed eagles flying around up above us. So that's a wild pair of eagles that live very close by to the sanctuary grounds. We see them most days hanging around. You'll hear Alvy starting to call because he doesn't particularly like having wedge-tailed eagles flying around up above him, because they're the top predator. So we just saw the black-breasted buzzard a little bit earlier, which was our third largest raptor with big broad wings. This pair of wedge-tailed eagles, they're the largest raptors we have here in Australia. So they're actually our top predators here in Australia. We're really lucky to be able to get a chance to see those birds. If you were watching them while Alvy was watching, you might have been lucky enough to see how they do fly around. You can see this one out here still flying around. If you've been watching them the whole time, you'll probably notice they didn't flap their wings once. They literally just glide and soar around without having to beat their wings. And that's a very, very energy efficient way of getting around. So they can do that for hours and hours on end and not use up much energy. Now, they need a lot of food to survive, so for them to be able to catch enough food, they need to cover very large areas. So that's the tactic they use to basically just glide and soar around effortlessly without using that energy. Keep your eyes open. You might be lucky enough to see those eagles a little bit later on. They do hang around quite a bit around the sanctuary grounds. You might be lucky enough to see them even closer than that. Best way to help you identify the wedge-tailed eagles is that obvious they have a diamond or a wedge shape in their tail. Probably the best way for you to identify them. Now that they've sort of headed off a little bit, Alvy might be more inclined to come down and try and catch his fish. He won't be too keen to do it if he can still see them though. And he's got much better eyesight than we do. So we'll wait and see. Here we go. Keep your eyes on Alvy. You'll see, hopefully he'll pull those wings back, throw the feet out, and straight into that water. Did you catch it? He did get it as well. How about a massive round of applause for Alvy? It's an incredibly powerful feat to be able to do that. If you keep your eyes on Alvy, you might just be lucky enough to see him have a little bit of a shake. Quite often he shakes that water off, or he might just land this time and do it while he lands. No, he missed. He might come back again. Now, ospreys out there in the wild, unfortunately not found very commonly here in Victoria. If you're lucky enough, you might see one or two in Victoria, but it's very, very rare to see them here in Victoria. As soon as you get further north in Australia, you do start to see them more often. Now, as I said, these birds need to be very well adapted for catching their fish, if that's what they survive on. So they have very specialised feet. All raptors use their feet to catch and kill their prey, but these osprey have really specialised feet. Their claws, or their talons on the end of their toes, are really long, very curved and extremely sharp. They basically act like an individual fish hook on the end of each toe. They have really rough feet to hang on to slippery fish and a locking mechanism in their toe as well. So once they've caught the fish, their toes lock onto that fish and it can't get away. So really well adapted for catching those fish. But keep your eyes open for Alvy. You might just be lucky enough to see Alvy flying around. After he eats his fish, sometimes he likes to go for a bit of a fly. So keep your eyes open for him. You might be lucky enough to see him. But hopefully today you enjoyed meeting our beautiful osprey Alvy, our bonus wedge-tailed eagles as well, and the rest of the Spirits of the Sky team.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon at the sanctuary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't look at the rock.